may notice he just put his head down then. That was a white, well, cabbage white butterfly. So more frightened of the white butterfly than the pheasants and all the rustling in the hedgerows. But I mean, he didn't spook. He just looked at it. It caught his eye. That'll be because it's white. Now I want to have a steady away canter. He's quite fit now, so slow. Just keep him slow. Slow. Good boy. Slow. Good boy. Good boy. Yep, see, steady. That's lovely. Slow. Good boy. Good boy. Really good. Listening very well. Not attempting to go into the gallop. And good boy. That was him slowing down completely on his own after I said and. Very good. I do get quite a lot of people saying, oh, you should use a hackamore or a bitless bridle, and absolutely not. No. There is definitely the wrong impression by a lot of new riders that bitless is best, and it most definitely isn't, especially if you've got a forward-going horse. Because if you've got a forward-going horse, can you imagine the amount of pressure to stop a horse at full gallop with no bit? The amount of pressure you're going to put on those delicate nose bones. Yeah, fair enough if you've got a horse that doesn't move unless you kick it. Well, yeah, if that floats your boat and you think you're doing the horse a favour, fair enough. But let me tell you, in my experience, and I've had a bit, and I'm quite old now, a plain loose ring snaffle is far gentler on a horse for stopping than the awful pressure that you'd have to put on a horse that if it got away from you and you're trying to stop it and they're taking no notice. At least with a bit you can move the bit from side to side with the reins, which if they've chomped on it, releases it. If they haven't chomped on it and they're just going like hell, it sort of wakes up their mind. It just suddenly gets the mind back to where they should be, rather than they've completely forgotten about any aids. I'm going to turn round at this road. We could go down the road and round left or right, but there's quite a lot of road work, and I am conscious that he's going to wear his hooves down quite a bit probably on this endurance ride.
This Saturday, the 23rd of July.
So I'm going to not do too much on the road, because roads is very abrasive, so it acts a bit like sandpaper on a horse's hoof. Whereas soil, even if it's hard soil, there's less abrasiveness, and I do try to keep them on the grass. As you see in the middle here, there's a bit of grass, so we're at the walk, we can go on that. But it's got a little rut, so you wouldn't canter it here because there's a rut in the middle, and he could go over on his ankle or something. So you don't do that. And here we're going to have a little canter, so just get his attention. either with a little half halt there, just to so he knows that something's coming. And no, in half halts, not all half halts are equal. You use different half halts, which might sound a bit odd, but it depends what you're doing and what the horse is and everything like that. So I've got his attention because I'm just doing a little squeeze there with the leg into the bit. It's just so I see him drop his head there, even though I haven't moved the bit at all. And of course, my other fault is the and. But we're going to go off without the and today. So I went off, as you see, just on normal, what people would say normal aids, just leg, half halt and leg back to initiate the canter. Good boy. So another little walk now. And then we're going to have a little canter, and I'll just use the voice. And see his ears, and he's immediately saw his legs quicken, or could probably see his head come up and his legs quicken, but we don't want his head up, we want his head down really. But I'd have to practice that quite a bit to get him more dressage-y, which isn't my thing for Farouk. Apollo, yes, probably Bella too, because they have a different suspension to Arabs, and they are better at dressage. I'm sorry to tell everybody that. I'm sorry if people are going to say, "Oh, I have an Arab and he's brilliant." Great, but all I have to say is, you never see an Arabian horse in the top competitions. FEI competitions, you never do, because they're not built for dressage. They don't have the suspension that Apollo has, or warm bloods in general. Bella, for instance, they have more suspension. It's a natural thing. But Farouk is meant to run. That's going back millennia. That's what they did. And of course they're built for stamina. So they aren't as fast as a racing thoroughbred, but they probably go for longer. I don't know that for a fact because I've never pushed him to his limits, and never would, because he'd kill himself. He's that sort of horse that would just keep going. He'd give every ounce of himself and he'd die. So rider responsibility with the Faroukals. Just have a walk, and then we're going to have a trot, and then we'll have another walk. Big pheasant hopper, and little pheasant hopper lid there. Yeah, so a nice long neck for Farouk now, just to release all that pent up tension when he thinks, oh yes, we're going to go galloping. So all that tension now just dissipating with his head and neck down. A nice walk, not a hurried walk. Just good boy. Yes, he is. And I can see, even though we've only just started up in his exercise to meet the demands of his new job, I can see already that that's having a good effect on him, because he's not doing the Apollo walk, he's just nicely going along. We've had a nice canter. He hasn't tried to break into the gallop on his own accord. So yeah, good. Girl's good. Very pleased. Yes, I think you were thinking you're going to have a little snack, little drive past snack. No, we don't do that, do we, Farouk? So it's one of my things. I don't like them to do that. When I don't like them to nibble as we go along on a ride, because it is disrespectful. I think that's disrespectful. And the amount of riding that he does with me is nowhere near the leisure time he has. So I think a little bit of work you should be concentrating on that, shouldn't you? Yes. So that's just my opinion. Obviously, as I say to everybody, this is what I do, and it's each to their own. This is not me telling you how to do. There's plenty of professional trainers that will tell you what to do. I'm just saying what I do and what's worked for me over the decades. In my younger day, I have competed at point to point, and let me tell you, those well, the point to points I went on are big fences. They're big fences. There's no two ways about it. Also, I've done team chasing, but that was at the lower level with 3 others. I have ridden on the Huntingdon race course. Those are big fences. It wasn't in a proper race. This was a training exercise because I was competing my horse at Fakenham. So I did that a couple of times. I've got a little video of me way back in my early 30s. May put it on YouTube one day. It's on CD, so I may put it on YouTube because it was on a one of those old-fashioned VCR tapes, and I had it years ago converted when VCRs went out of fashion because we had better. So there is a DVD of it. That was quite amazing, really. Came 4th. Could have done better because my horse was so fit, but I was just worried. I was worried about hitting the front and then him just sort of stopping, which was silly, really, because he was never a horse that was hit the front and then died. But anyway, there you go. If I'd gone on, maybe we could have done better. That was on my thoroughbred. The first time I went in a point to point was on an ex-racehorse. I'd bought him very cheaply because he had bowed a tendon, and the racing stables decided to sell him on because he was never going to be probably good enough to go back into racing once they've done a leg like that. His name was Tremertion, and he had come second with Richard Dunwoody at Wolverhampton in his racing career. And then, of course, he did his leg, and then they sold him to me at an auction. And he was a good boy, really. It wasn't your thin thoroughbred because, of course, he was a steeplechaser, so they're built bigger. Always had problem with the braking system on him, so I had to use a stronger bit on him. I couldn't use the snaffle, and he was all right on his own. If you were out, you could use a snaffle, but I never had him in the snaffle because you never knew if you were going to meet somebody that would race off, and he would just race after him, and there would be nothing I could do. Even though he wasn't bolting, he was so strong in a snaffle, it would just pull your arms out. So I would use a 3-ring gag, like I did with Apollo the first time he went hunting, just in case he got a bit strong. You just don't want a horse out of control when in a close proximity to other horses.
So here I am, the blue with the pink cap is me, that's Tremertion. Unfortunately, we didn't finish the race because I fell off at one of the jumps. Oh dear. Henry Hill, who lived next door to me, was a racehorse trainer and owner, and he persuaded me to let a proper jockey ride him in another race. You'll note the guy is wearing my clothes because you're supposed to ride in the owner's colours. Well, if I'd have known I was going to ever enter Tremertion with another jockey, I would never have chosen those colours. But it was just a bit of fun, you know. It wasn't something I was taking seriously. And he won that, which qualified him to go national hunt. And then Henry bought him from me. Henry did know Tremertion's history, but because of the huge amount of prize money, which was £100,000 back in the day. He said, I just have to give it a go. Unfortunately, Tramersham didn't complete the course because he did a leg. The following year, I rode Sultan, and that's me in the dark blue with the black silk. And I'm pleased to say we managed to come fourth.
So we're now back to the cauldron. It's just been an out and back ride. We can circle, as I've said, but I'm not going to do that while we've got this endurance coming up. I don't want to have any damaged hoovies. Split is what I mean, because they can just fray at the edges. So he's had his feet done because he was due, and just by the length, he was had gone quite a few weeks without seeing Stephen, but he was due, and Stephen sorted that out. I don't want him to get too flat on his feet by wearing them down on roads, so this is why we're just sticking to tracks that I know. I'm not going to go on any new track because you don't know what the surface is going to be. I know this surface because obviously I live here, and this is one of our runs that we do a lot of, because it's pleasant. It's a pleasant run. You don't feel that you're training, you feel like you're out and having a nice time hacking.
If you've enjoyed the video, don't forget to subscribe and click the bell icon. We love reading the comments, we love emojis, and we'd love a thumbs up. If you would like to catch up on some of our older videos, just click on the Apollo icon, which will take you to our home page. We have over 1,700 videos to choose from, and you can sort by the most popular, the oldest, or the newest. Thanks for watching TTFN.